Rev up your engines! Well, the current Ford Mustang production is ending in 2028, says Ford. They say this will be the last designed Mustang. 2028, they're not going to be making them anymore. Now they're talking about changing everything, the chassis, to make it an electric car. And they're thinking maybe they're going to base it on the Mustang Mach-E, the electric Mustang, which really isn't a Mustang. It's an SUV. And they're not that impressive. They don't handle all that well. They haven't sold all that well. And why you would want to take their big selling Mustang and turn it into some funky car on an SUV chassis that pretty much has failed as it stands today, no one really knows. At least they're saying 2028 will be the last one, and that's, 5 years from now. And look at Dodge. They kept saying, this is the last Challenger we'll make, and then they make another one, and then they make another one. So I don't know if I believe everything they have to say, but let's face it, Ford doesn't make cars anymore. They make SUVs and trucks. Anyways, Ford makes like 90-something% of their profit on the F-150 truck line. That's where they make their money. That's the main reason they stopped building cars, because the cars weren't making a profit. They couldn't compete with the Toyota, Honda building quality cars, so they went, we'll make our money on big trucks. And they do make their money on big trucks, right? The Japanese aren't big truck manufacturers. Yeah, this is the Toyota Tundra, but they even dropped their V8. The Japanese are not big truck fans. That's not their big deal. And they make cars and SUVs, and they still make an awful lot of cars, right? But the Americans are kind of giving up because, as a friend of my father said years ago, this was 35 years ago. He said, Scotty, we can't compete making cars with the Japanese. They're too good at it. They plan ahead. We don't even know what's happening 6 months from now. They know what's going to happen like 15 years from now. They plan ahead, right? So all this not planning ahead, they say they're going to stop making a Mustang in 2028, but, we'll see what happens when 2028 rolls around. Because all this pushing electric cars, hey, look, it's pushed already. Now they're saying 2028. That's 5 years from now. So they're pushing more electrification into the future. And as time goes on, they may push it completely into the future. And so that will never exist at all. Well, if you're like me and you think the car dealers are crooks and trying to pull fast ones, here's an email from Steve Thompson. Steve says, I live near Minneapolis, St. Paul. The population is 3.5 million people. There are many local auto dealers in this area. The dealers really are crooks. When you get 30 miles away from the city center, you will find huge fields filled with new cars and trucks. These vehicles are all makes and models. The dealers are telling potential customers they're out of stock on many of their vehicles. So they're representing that the scarcity of the vehicles. They're artificially creating higher demand for the vehicles by physically removing the vehicles from their inventory. And when the demand is high and the supply is low, the asking price becomes inflated. Yeah, they've done it all over. I saw it here in Clarksville. You go by these places, they got 5 cars on the lot, but then got them stored out in the countryside somewhere. And then that one comes in. They got a bunch of them there, but they pretend they don't so they can mark it up, and then maybe we can get one, before you even do anything. If you do go and look at a car, get the VIN number. Take a picture of the VIN number of the car you're looking at, right? See what happens if they start delivering you one and it's a different VIN number. That shows you they're pulling a fast one. That they're leaving that one on a lot, and then the VIN number comes from the one they have hidden away that they're bringing in. That's one way of telling. I never buy new cars anyways. To me, it's a waste of money. You can save so much buying a good used car, right? But they're pulling this. They're still pulling this. And this email was from December 3rd, 2023, whenever you're watching this video. We'll see in the future if they continue this garbage or whether they'll come back to reality and stick them back on their property. They must be making so much money that they'll store them someplace else. They got to pay to store them, right? I guess they're making so much more money marking them up saying we don't have enough that they can pay for hiding them somewhere else and still make more money. Well, a lot of people are saying Tesla's botching the launch of their cybertruck. Well, and some of these people that put down a deposit, right, $250 deposit or whatever it was, they're getting a notice saying, do you want $1,000 credit not to use it? Because if he has to sell it for what the deposits were, the original asking price, turns out he'd lose money on every single one he sold. And he claims he had 1 million deposits, so that would mean he would lose money selling 1 million of these trucks at the original price, because originally these things were going to be cheaper. Now, when the Cybertruck was first unveiled in 2019, not an actual one because they haven't built them yet, right, just models, it was supposed to be $40,000 with a range of 500 miles, right? That's what people put their $100 $500 deposit down on. Right? What they're going to deliver is a $61,000 truck with only 320 miles of range. Big difference between a $40,000 truck that has 500 miles of range and a $61,000 truck that only has 320 miles of range. As usual, Elon just makes up crap. Tells you, the future's going to be, we're going to bore tunnels all over the planet and have super fast transportation underground. Yeah, they built 2.5 miles in Las Vegas, and that's it. The boring company is pretty much defunct. Now, that $61,000 one, that's just the starting price. The fancy ones start at $80,000. God doesn't know how to make anything reasonable. That's just kind of obvious. He makes expensive vehicles for people who don't care, that want to throw their money away on an electric car. When I drove from Rhode Island to Tennessee a few days ago, I saw 2 Teslas on the highway, but I saw hundreds of them in Rhode Island, and I see scores of them in Nashville, where the rich people live, right? But you don't see them on the highway doing long-distance traveling, so it's mainly rich people for driving around town, right? And I guess he's planning on the same thing with the Cybertruck. We'll see what happens, because that's even weirder. Then you got people who want some weird-looking fake truck thing that looks like it came out of a Homer Simpson nightmare, And there's always a certain amount of people that are going to buy something. I mean, that's just the way people are, New iPhone comes out. Oh, they're waiting in line to buy the new iPhone that butters your toast, right? Same thing with these. But, what a difference. Supposed to be 40 grand with 500 miles of range. Now there's 61 with 320 miles of range. And that's their estimation, right? It's supposed to be a truck, a Cybertruck, right? When you start towing things, your range is going to probably be cut in half in those things, if you're even going to try to tow something with it. Such a weird looking thing. I don't know if it have the aerodynamics to be able to tow something over long distances. Who knows? Who knows? But as per usual, Elon's up to all kinds of games, They're saying, well, we raised the price because of inflation. Well, if you include inflation, then it should have been $46,000, not 61. The guy just raises prices. What's money? And he's trying to pay off the people that had reservations so they can't get it for $40,000 because he'd lose money building at them $40,000. So, a usual mishmash at Tesla. Well, a lot of people are leaving New York City, but the people that are coming to visit, they might be in for a surprise. Bill Schmidt says, Scotty, my nephew had to travel to New York City on a business trip and drove his big old Ford F-250 King cab. And he took over an hour to find a parking spot. He stated most parking ramps, garages had no parking signs for excessive large pickups and signs stating no EV parking. Thought you'd get a kick out of that in New York City. Yeah, kick, all right. I'm not going there. If I ever go there on a holiday, you know what I'm doing? I'm taking a train from Rhode Island. I'm not going to park anywhere, right? I'll Uber or a taxi cab around. That's what we do every time. We never had a car when we went to New York City. The only time we had a car when we went to New York City was when I was a kid. When I was like 13, we went to see the World's Fair they had in New York City in the 60s, right? And we did drive our car, and then when we picked it up at the hotel parking, it was stripped. The hubcaps were taken off. Everything, the spare tire was gone. People stole everything there in New York City, so I would not drive a car in there. And this guy's driving a big truck. But it's funny that, we don't want large trucks here. And we also don't want EVs. You might burn it down. We're going to be particular about who parks in our parking lot. So don't park there at all. You won't have any problems. Well, thanks, Jovita. Sent me this great sign. Read it. Electric cars, a plan that doesn't work to fix a problem that doesn't exist. That pretty much sums electric cars up to a T. Normally, technology that we accept in society and society thrives on is a step forwards, upwards, right? In this case, it isn't. Going from horses to cars, horses crapped all over the place, right? There's horse manure they had to clean up. They can only go so far. You got to feed them. You got to take them to the vet. And they don't go that fast. Cars were a dramatic change in transportation. And once they started going, it went like wildfire, right? And the gasoline that fueled them, there was plenty of that, so people could go wherever they wanted, right? Again, electric cars, it's just an idea. Oh, we're going to save the planet. Well, so much pollution creating the batteries and the cars themselves and the precious materials. It's not really all that green. Plus, the electricity is generated by fossil fuels, most of it. So it's really not all that green. But the main thing is, it is not a solution that Americans can live with. Do you really have to adapt your lifestyle to your vehicle? Now, Ford gave 10 steps to make their F-150 Lightning electric pickup truck work better. Park in a heated garage. Precondition your vehicle before you drive it. Blah, blah, blah. 10 steps, right? 10 of them. What do most Americans do? They get their key, they start their car, and they drive somewhere, right? They're not thinking, what are the 10 steps I have to do before I really drive my car if I want to get very far, right? And they're worried about range anxiety. You'll be stuck in the middle. So you'd have to tow it somewhere, then have to get it charged. It would cost you a fortune. So it really is a solution to a problem that doesn't exist, and even the solution itself doesn't work. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.